Hello and welcome to the series on Microsoft Power Apps. In this video, we'll be creating our first Power App and connecting it to our SharePoint data source that we created in our previous video. In the previous video, we set up our SharePoint site and we did some configuration of the site. I went through it pretty quickly because I didn't want to focus too much on SharePoint. You could have used any other data source you wanted to, but I chose to use SharePoint, but I don't want the focus to be on SharePoint. That being said, I want to go back to SharePoint and just clarify one or two points. So to do that, you can access it via Teams. So within Teams, you can go to the team site that we set up. In this case, it was the employee team. Click on General, and under General, go to Files. And you'll see over here under Files, we will have a link to the SharePoint site. But if we click on the Open in SharePoint, it will take us to this URL. You can see at the top here, it's got your tenant URL, and then /sites, and then / the name of the team we set up or the name of the SharePoint site we created. This is the landing page. So what I've done, I've also gone into our site content, and you can see I've added the employees to the quick launch menu over here. To do that, you click on employees. You go to click on the cogwheel, go to list settings, and under list settings you'll see we have list name and description and navigation. So if you click on that, you'll see over here we have an option to add your list to the quick launch. So yes or no. By default set to no, and I set it to yes. So if we just save that, it just makes it easier to navigate. So over here you have it in your list. You could actually change the order of your list if you go to the site settings and the quick launch. You can change the order of your navigation or delete items and add items, but I won't be doing that in this video. So if you're looking at your employee list, if you remember, we created a column for name, surname, title, email, department, not title, position, and then also image. I created a test image, but we can just delete that. So if we go into the list and we just say delete, and that's basically what we had. So we had our images that would display our images, a link to our images that are stored in our document library. I just want to mention, if you're going to use a image link, you need to go into your images, and you see over here you have option for a hyperlink or a picture. So you need to set this to picture if you want this to work. So let's click on OK. The default that I set it to was hyperlink, so this was not working when I did some testing. But if you set it to picture, this will work in your Power Apps. That was the first thing I wanted to mention. So you need to set your image to image and not to hyperlink. And if we actually click on our employees list, let's give it a second. You can see over here our employees each have, or not all of them. I deliberately didn't add an image for all of the employees because we'll be going over that in a later video where we can set a conditional clause to say if there's no image, then we set a default image. But I just added some images to some of the employees. But this is coming from your document library. So if we go to Documents, General, Employees, and here you can see all of the images. Obviously you could make this path different. You could use something like OneDrive if you wanted to, but I just made it easy and I used SharePoint. Another important thing to mention, if you click on the three dots, you can see you have an option to copy the URL. So if you're copying the URL like that, it's not going to work because it gives you this strange URL. So it's quite a long URL as well. And this is not the correct URL. So if you want to include this image into your list, you need to click on it. It will open up in SharePoint, and you can see it's got some formatting. So it's got quite a long URL. You can't just copy that. But if you say View Original, you can see over here it gives you the correct URL to use in your list. So if you copy this URL You can go back to your, or click on the back button, go to your employees list, and in the employees list, you could go to any one of these items, and you could actually edit in grid view or just edit the item. If we scroll down to image, you can paste the URL and it will be the correct URL. You can see like that. But if you wanted to, you could use any URL for the image. This could also be on the public web. It could be on OneDrive. It could be in Google. It could be wherever you want it to, as long as you have access to it within your Power Apps. So it needs to be publicly available. Let's cancel that because I don't want to enter that information into that item. And that is pretty much your SharePoint site. So this SharePoint site will be used as our data source, and it will have the employee's name, their surname, their email address, their department, their position, their image, and that's it. So like I said, you could use any data source, but I just wanted to use SharePoint. I think that is clear from this point forward. I will therefore close the SharePoint links, but you could always access it if you go into your Teams or if you just navigate directly to the URL. Great. So now what we're going to do, we're going to head over to Power Apps. If you don't remember the URL to Power Apps, you can always log into your Office profile, so office.com, and log in. And then on the left-hand side here, you'll see all of the apps that you have available with your subscription. So if you click on Power Apps, it will display the screen over here. Well, the home screen, which is the screen over here. In the previous video, I went through some of the menu items, so I'm not going to go through that again. If you click on apps, you'll see the apps that you have created, and you have also the option to create a new app. You can create a Canvas app, a model-driven app, or a portal. So in this video, or in this tutorial, or in the next up-and-coming videos, I'll be working mainly with Canva apps or Canvas apps. So if you click on Canvas, it will ask you what do you want to create. So I mentioned in previous videos there's quite a number of connectors. In our case, we want to use SharePoint. You also have the option to select templates and also the option to create a blank application. So what I want to do in this video is create the blank the SharePoint connector. This will automatically generate all of the information. In the video after that, I want to create an application from a template, and in the video after that I'll be creating a blank application where we will be working on our employee application and entering everything manually, adding filters, adding search, and that sort of thing. So although we're creating an application using our SharePoint connector, this is just an example. The real app is going to be created when we create our blank application. So if you click on SharePoint as our connector, you can see over here at the top, it gives you your SharePoint site. If you have multiple SharePoint sites that you have access to, you'll be able to select it. If you want to use SharePoint on-premise, you would need to have a gateway, but you'd have to set that up separately. So let's click on the URL, and it lists all of the lists that we currently have on that site. I only have one list. So if we click on employees and click on connect, it will start processing that, and takes a few minutes. And you can see on the screen it's already started populating something. So basically it's coming up with a pop-up, welcome to PowerApp Studio, start customizing your apps or preview your studio. See preview of this app. I will skip that for now. So this is our application that we've created. You can see over here we have a list of our users, so the name, surname, the email address, and an image. So this user doesn't have an image, but this one over here does. If we look at the top of the bar over here, we have an option for file, home, insert, view, and action. So if we click on the file, you have an option to give the app a name. So let's give this a name. Employee app 1. I named it employee app. I spelled that wrong. I named this employee app 1 because, as I mentioned in a later video, we'll be creating a blank application and populating this all on our own. You can also change the color of the icon. So if we scroll down here, let's select this yellow color, and you can also change the icon that's available to the application. I'm just going to select a random one, or you could browse and upload an image that you have on your local PC. So that is the name. You can also change the screen size. By default, it will be set to a screen size of a mobile device, and you can set it to landscape or portrait. So if you change it to landscape, it will look like a landscape, and portrait will be as it is now on our screen. So I'm going to leave that as default. I'm not going to make too many changes to that because we're going to look at that a bit later. You have some advanced settings, go through them and have a look at the different settings. I'm not going to put too much emphasis on that. And obviously important, if you want to save the app, you can click on save. And you can also share it with people and publish it. I'm not going to do that now. We'll come back to this in a minute. So let's go back to our application. And I mentioned on the top bar here, we have the file. We also have the home screen where you can add a new screen. You've got different templates that you have. This is what we'll be using when we create a blank application. You can also insert. Sorry, let's go back to the home screen. If we select one item, you can see you have a option to change the font, change certain settings. You also have your functions over here that you can set. So over here we have the image, which is set to this image. Don't worry too much about what's displayed over here. We'll go through all of that in a later video. And there's a number of different functions that you can have over here. So for example, width and height and so forth, fill, and depending on the item that you've got selected. So that is under the home screen. We also have the insert screen where you can insert a new screen, a label, a button, text, input, gallery, data, forms, media, charts, icons, custom, and mixed reality. We have the view option where you can view your data sources, where you can view your media, collections, variables, and the advanced features that you have. And then you also have your actions. So the main screen that you'll be working on is your home screen. Underneath the home screen, you have your main area where your application will sit. And then on the right-hand side, you have the properties. So each item that you select will have a number of different properties. So you can see over here text. If I change the text at the top here, it would reflect over there. And also the font size, symbol, if it's centered or if it's offset, if it's hidden or if the overflow is hidden, and also the size. You also have your advanced settings, and you can see over here on select. So when you select this item, it will use the functionality of the parent. So let's just go through the rest of the items. So data, and what's also important is the text. So the text is set to this item .name .title. So it's getting that information from your gallery. You can see a lot of information at the top here in the gallery when I select it. Don't worry too much about it. We'll go through it in a later video. But these items that are displayed over here are dependent on the parent, which is the gallery. Let's have a look at the left-hand side over here. At the top, you have your app, and these are all the settings that relate to your app. So the size, the size breakpoints, design, and then you also have a number of different properties. Then underneath there, let's just minimize these. You have your browse screen, which is your home screen. You have your details screen, and you have your edit screen. So all of these screens are getting information from SharePoint, and the browse screen is basically the starting screen. It has the name of the application at the top. It has an option to refresh your data source, and it also has a filter to filter from descending to ascending, so name can descend on there, and it also has a search field, and then obviously the image and the name, surname, and email address. And then this icon, if you click on it, it will take you to your details screen. So if we look at our browser gallery, you can see within there items are added in a hierarchical order. So first we have our separator, which is this item over here. We also have our next item. We have our body, which is getting the email address. You could obviously change that if you wanted to, if you went to your advanced settings and you changed it over here to another variable. So if I remove this dot item email and I change it to another item, you can search through here. It's getting all of this from my SharePoint site. So if I say name title, it will repeat the name title and display it over there. So let's actually select name title again, because I don't want that to be name title. And we'll enter over here email, and that will change it back to the email. The same with the image. You can see over here it has this item image, where the name has this item name, and surname this item surname. But as I said, don't get too worried about that. We'll clarify that in a later stage. So all of these items are entered in a hierarchical fashion. If you, for instance, had if we put the body to the back and gave it a darker color, you wouldn't see any of the items because it layers each item based on its position. Let's minimize this and also look at the gallery again. If we go back to a gallery on select, you can see over here there's a navigate function. So if we enter this in over here, you can see there's a navigate option, which is navigating us to details screen 1, and screen transition is none. So basically what that means is it's the navigation. If you click on any of these items, it will navigate you to your details screen, and there is no transition. So what we can also do, we can go to the menu over here, and we can go up to or down onto where was it? On select, and you can see over here we could also say on select, we could go to edit screen 1. But I don't want that to happen, so I'll change that back to detail screen. Notice if you enter something wrong, it does give you a warning, and it also has IntelliSense, so you can see at the bottom here, I can select that one and it will be correct now. So let's remove the transition of none, and you can see over here it will list all the transitions that you have. So cover right, fade, let's scroll down, none, uncover, uncover up. Let's select the uncover up, and that will be the transition from navigating from the browser screen to the details screen. Let's have a quick look at the details screen. You can see over here we have a detail form, and this form allows you to delete an item and edit an item, and it also allows you to go back, and it displays the name, the surname, the email address, the department, and the position of the person, as well as an image if there is an image. You can see you can click on each one of these items and see the respected information, and also edit the properties of it. If we look at the detail form is the actual form that you would edit the information or display the information. And if you click on the drop downs for those respective areas, you can see all of the properties that are within there. So this is the relating to the image. And if we go all the way to email address, you can see you've got the card for your email address and the description, so the title, giving it the name. But like I said, don't worry too much about this. We will cover all of this in the upcoming video. Let's minimize that and go to edit screen. But under the edit screen, you can see it's the same as the detailed screen. Good. from here, what we can do, you can also see you can change the size. This is just the display size on the designer. It's important to mention because you might want to make it bigger or smaller depending on your screen. You can also go back and undo an item. You can also redo an item, and you can also share the application with someone that you would be working on. So I'm not going to be making too many changes on this because we'll be working on this as a project in the later videos. But let's see what we've created. So if you click on the play button or preview the app, you can also press F5, and then this will do, it will display your app as a live application. You can refresh your data source, which will refresh all of the information coming from SharePoint. If you've made any changes in SharePoint, you'd have to click on refresh for them to be displayed. You can also change the sort order, so from descending to ascending. You can create a new item if you wanted to. That will take you to the edit screen. You could enter a person's information over here, but if you entered the person's name, surname, email address, department, the department's coming from the drop-down from SharePoint, and their position, this would all be updated in SharePoint. Let's cancel that because I don't want to do that. If we scroll down, you can see some employees have an image. Let's click on the employee. When you click on their name, it displays that specific item with the person's name, their surname, their email address, their department, their position, and obviously the image. If you wanted to edit an item, you could edit it, or you could delete the employee. So let's click on edit, and that will take you to the edit screen. And let's move this person to sales and click on the plus, and now it will be updated in SharePoint as well. Let's go back. What we can do is we can also search for a person based on their name. So let's search for someone with a name starting with B, and you can see over here it displays all of those people names beginning with B. So if you want to exit from here and go back to the designer, you could always click, let's actually remove the B from there and click on the X over here, and now we are back in our designer. So what we want to do now, as I mentioned, I'm not going to make too many changes here, so let's click on File, click on Save, and you can see now we have the option to publish it. Once you've published it, it will be available to everyone. So you can say Publish, or everyone that you've shared it with. And if you click on the Share button, it will take you back to PowerApps, and you can enter the person's name over here. I'm not going to share it with anyone because I don't really have any users on my tenant as it's a dev tenant, but if you wanted to, you could easily do that. So if we go back to PowerApps homepage and you click on your apps, you can see here's the employee app. You do have an option to edit it. You can play it, you can share it, you can export it as a package, you can add to teams, you can monitor and delete it if you wanted to. So I am going to go back to our team site, and you can see over here within Teams you have the option to add another tab, and if you wait, you'll see over here you've got a number of different applications you can add, but I don't want to add those applications because we've just built our own application. And we click on Power Apps, and if we click on Add, you can see over here we have a list of all the Power Apps that we have access to. Obviously, if you haven't shared it with the person who's adding it to Teams, they won't have permission to add it. So let's click on Add and Save. Now you can see our Power App is displayed within Teams. You might want to change the orientation so that it's displayed in landscape, not portrait, so that it covers the entire screen. But I think this is quite a nice app that you can use within your Teams. You can also go back to Teams and use the normal functionality of Teams, as well as view the information of your employees. So that is it for this application. we basically had a look at our SharePoint, did some changes to our SharePoint, went into PowerApps, created an app based on our SharePoint data source, and from there we edited some basic functionality or basic design within PowerApps. We changed the icon and the background color of the icon, and we actually tested it and saw how it worked, and then we added it to our team site. So in the next video, we'll be looking at creating an app from a template. So there's a number of different templates that are provided by Microsoft and Power Apps, and we'll be having a look at that and see how we can do that. And then after that, we'll be creating a blank application where we will be going into the same application, the employees application, and making some changes and creating everything manually. So I hope to see you in the next video. Let me know what you think in the comments.